They told you the monad was far away, that it belonged to saints, prophets, angels, that it was hidden in heaven or lost in myth. They lied. The monad isn't above you. It's not in scripture. It's inside your field, coded into your very biology, not metaphorically, literally. The truth? Jesus never asked you to worship him. He asked you to remember what he remembered, that the kingdom is within, that you are not a sinner reaching for God. You are a spark of what God is, trapped under layers of programming, fear, and forgetfulness. This is why they buried the teachings, because once you remember, no system can control you. The monad isn't a place, it's a frequency, a unified field of awareness beneath the static of thought. Jesus didn't build a church, he activated a map, and that map begins with the breath. Try this. Sit upright, eyes closed. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 4. Pause for 4. Repeat. Why? Because rhythm disrupts the ego loop. Because breath synchronizes body and field. Because stillness reveals structure. And what you'll feel first isn't peace, it's resistance. The tension in your gut, the static in your thoughts, the voice that says, "This is nonsense." That's the program. Let it come. Watch it. Don't react. The doorway to the monad isn't found in belief. It's found in non-reaction, because the kingdom doesn't come with signs to be observed. It emerges when your field stops fighting itself. You don't enter the monad. You remember you were never outside it. And this is just the beginning. They didn't just erase the teachings, they erased the instructions, because once you remember what Jesus really taught, the systems lose their grip. Jesus didn't just speak in parables. He encoded steps, practices for activating what he called the kingdom within. And these steps weren't metaphors. They were biological, electrical, energetic. They follow a path known by mystics across time, the seals along the spine. You may know them as chakras, but long before Sanskrit codified them, early Christian mystics called them gates, stars, or thrones. The book of Revelation wasn't prophecy, it was a manual of activation. 7 seals, 7 churches, 7 flames, each one tied to a layer of consciousness, a nerve plexus, a frequency band in the body. And Jesus didn't just talk about them, he embodied their opening, one by one. When he was baptized, the root was purified. When he fasted, the fire center awakened. When he taught in the temple, the throat opened. When he cried in the garden, the heart broke wide. These were not random events. They were the map back to the monad. And you have the same map right now. It begins in the base of your spine. But you won't rise by willpower. You rise by alignment. When breath, awareness, and body synchronize, the seals begin to stir. First as sensation, then as emotion, then as pure signal. Most people never get past the second gate because fear kicks in or trauma resurfaces. But this is the test. Can you stay present with your discomfort? Can you breathe through the static without shutting down? Because the seals don't open by force, they open by receptivity, and every time one does, a part of your memory returns. Not memory of the past, memory of your design. You were not made to worship a system, you were made to become a temple, so breathe again. Anchor into your body and let the monad begin to move. They taught you to fear your power, to label your energy as temptation, to bury your desire, your instincts, your inner fire. Why? Because fire liberates, and nothing burns faster than a lie. Jesus never condemned the body, he honored it. Because he knew the truth, The Spirit descends only where the vessel is ready, and the vessel isn't just the mind, it's the spine, the breath, the bloodstream, the fire center, what some call the solar plexus or third chakra, was known to the Essenes as the turning flame, the point where divine will meets human intent. When this center activates, clarity begins, not from thought, but from knowing. A visceral compass that doesn't just point north, it pulls you. This is the fire Jesus spoke of when he said, "I have come to cast fire upon the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled." He wasn't talking about destruction, he was talking about initiation. This fire doesn't consume, it transforms. It purifies what's false and fortifies what's true. But most never reach this ignition. Why? Because they've been trained to fear their own power. Religious systems hijacked this fire and labeled it sin. But here's the truth. Desire is not sin. Desire is direction. When this fire rises clean, not distorted by shame or ego, it becomes fuel for ascension. It sharpens your discernment, it restores your confidence, it breaks paralysis, and above all, it aligns you with your purpose, not a job or role, but the frequency you came to carry. Here's a practice. Place your palm on your solar plexus. Breathe deep into your belly. As you inhale, ask, "What am I suppressing?" As you exhale, say softly, "Let it rise." Repeat until heat begins. That heat isn't just energy, it's memory waking up. You were born to burn, not in punishment, but in truth, and the truth always liberates. They told you God had one name, but that was a containment strategy, because when you know the names, you unlock the patterns. And when you speak the true names, the field shifts. In hidden scrolls and forbidden gospels, Jesus referred to the source not by one title, but by many. Abvun, El Elyon, Ruach, Shaddai, or Ein Sof. Each name was not just a label, it was a frequency code, a key to a specific state of divine consciousness. Why would the church hide this? Because language holds power. And vibrational language, the kind that alters your field, can't be controlled by doctrine. Jesus didn't use names to dominate. He used them to tune his field, to match the vibration of healing, of clarity, of divine will. When he said Abvun, he wasn't saying Father in the literal sense. He was aligning with the birthing principle of the cosmos. When he invoked Ruach, it wasn't poetic. It was a call to the living breath, the spirit wind that moves through every cell. You weren't meant to pray to a God outside you. You were meant to activate the divine within. These names are more than words. They're tuners, and when spoken with intention, they activate dormant centers in your nervous system. Here's a simple practice. Sit in stillness. Place both hands over your heart. Whisper, Ruach. Feel the vibration in your chest. Say, Abvun. Let it move through your spine. These aren't chants, they're keys. And as you use them, something ancient stirs. The names begin to awaken what the system worked so hard to suppress, your direct access. Because when you no longer need an intermediary, you become the sanctuary itself. The names were never lost. They were hidden in you. Now, they rise. They told you the cross was only a symbol of suffering, but that was only half the truth, because hidden beneath the blood and thorns was something older than Rome, older than religion. A fractal map, the vertical axis, heaven to earth, the horizontal, self to other, and at the intersection, the monad. The cross wasn't an execution device, it was an ancient symbol for activation, a depiction of the four elements, the four directions, the four bodies, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, coming into coherence. When Jesus carried the cross, he wasn't just fulfilling prophecy, he was moving through the final gate, integration of opposites, pain and peace, death and life, spirit and flesh, all united in the body, all held in presence. The crucifixion wasn't defeat, it was transfiguration, a moment when the field cracked open, when the veil between dimensions thinned, when the monad pulsed through human form so fully that time broke. That's why it echoed across history, not because of belief, but because of physics. You carry that same template, every breath a vertical line, every touch, every connection horizontal, and where those two meet inside you is the Christ point. You are not meant to escape the cross, you are meant to embody it. Here's the practice. Stand with arms outstretched, close your eyes, feel the four directions around you, breathe up from the earth, breathe down from the stars, then hold it all at your center, not as suffering but as stillness, because when you stop resisting your contradictions, they stop tearing you apart, and what remains is the monad revealed in form, not ascended, inhabited. What they never told you is this: the temple wasn't destroyed, it was moved, not into heaven, not into stone, but into you. Jesus said, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." They thought he meant buildings. He meant biology. Your spine is the pillar, your brain, the holy of holies, your breath, the priest, and your awareness, the presence that fills it all. You are not a visitor to the sacred. You are built to house it. Every teaching Jesus gave pointed here. Every parable was a code. Every miracle a reminder. You are not separate from source. You are the site of convergence. This is why they distracted you with afterlife promises, why they shamed the body, why they outsourced your divinity, because if you knew the truth, the temples would empty, the systems would collapse, the kingdom would rise from within. So what now? You reclaim it. You rebuild the temple, not with bricks, but with breath, stillness, and remembrance. Here's your final practice. Sit upright, eyes closed. Visualize light rising up your spine as you inhale. Let it rest in the crown as you hold. Exhale through the heart and whisper, "I return, not to a religion, not to a story, but to the source code of your being." This isn't the end of the path. This is where it begins again, not in seeking, but in inhabiting. The monad doesn't need to descend. It was waiting for you to remember. Now the veil is torn, the temple restored, and you are the sanctuary. If this awakens something in you, don't stop here. Watch the playlist, The Hidden Teachings of Jesus, and start remembering what was never truly lost.